I want to say a big thank you to Emma for that introduction. Also, Emily, what a great lunch. It really was delicious. And I'm just thrilled and privileged to be here this afternoon. And I hope I do you proud. Okay. Did you know, I'm sure many of you do, that every day we wake up, we get up, and there is a blank page waiting for us. And every day we get to fill that page. It's called life, our life. It's our bestseller, maybe even a blockbuster. And at the end of that day, we also have the opportunity of reflecting back on the day. And maybe there's a few things we would have liked to have changed, perhaps how we communicated or shared or dealt with various situations. And guess what? That blank page is waiting for us the next day. I'm sure many of you have heard of Terry Pratchett, the fantasy novelist, who sadly is no longer with us. He once said that if we don't turn our lives into a story, we will be part of someone else's. And my question is, what happens if there is no story? Day after day after day, there is nothing new. It's the same, month after month, year after year. There is no what happened next. What do we do? Do we change the characters or the character? Do we change the storyline? So what I would like each of you to do now is come with me, whatever minutes we have left, on this my journey from a life on hold to a life of healing to becoming a published author. Now, where I come from, many of you have met me already. You know I'm Irish. And we love to hear a good story, but we also love to tell a story. And in my family, from a very, very young age, I couldn't sing. No. But I could tell a story. And I was always armed with a notebook and a pad, pens. So I would make up plays, observe people, and tell little stories. I knew I had a creative side, and I also knew I was different. The creative side then was very much about theatre and acting. The creative side, I loved to bake. I was passionate about baking and cooking, and I was an avid reader as well. But when I read cookery books, I didn't use those recipes. Oh no, I adapted them and made up my own. I love sport, passionate about sport. And at one point, I actually thought I was going to end up being in that field. Then it was known as, it was gymnastics. It was known as a sports and gymnastics teacher. Gymnastics was my big thing. Tennis, netball. Who's played netball? Anyone play netball? Yeah, love that sport. But I also wanted to get away from Ireland because I felt quite enclosed. I wanted to spread my wings. I wanted to get that feeling of independence, what it would be like to develop and grow and maybe find a new career. At the age of 21, I packed a suitcase with a lot of hope and I came to the UK, I came to London, to my parents' shock and horror. Because where I came from, you only ever left home if you were getting married or you were emigrating to somewhere like Australia or America. And I knew one person, and I had no job. But within a year, I was deputy manager of a restaurant. A French restaurant, a French cafe, a French brasserie, 3 floors, live music every weekend. And again, without realizing it, I had jumped on that treadmill. I became the hamster on the wheel, driven, pushing, wishing to have that success, that career. And that's what I did for the next 15 years, both in the UK and in Dublin. And back in Dublin, again working full-time, a girlfriend of mine approached the editor of one of the big papers in Dublin. And out of the blue, he asked me, would I be prepared to write a couple of articles and do some interviews? Had never done it in my life. I said, yeah, okay. And I delivered. At the end of which he said, have you considered becoming a writer? I shrugged. He said, we could train you also in journalism. But I was still yearning to get back to the UK, to live in a big metropolis, and I did. I then went on to work in the health and fitness industry. And I actually was responsible, had quite a responsible job in management at a private health club near London. And I did that for 6-7 years. So all my creativeness was pushed to the back burner, so to speak, because I continued to immerse myself in work. At this point, I had met Chris. Chris and I met, who some of you know, Chris Pollard, who's here, renamed, rechristened, superhero. And we got married in '96. And within 6 months of us being married, I collapsed again. For 20 years, I had burnout, I had energy challenges. I knew something was wrong, but nobody was able to diagnose what it was. And I didn't know how to take care of myself. I was far too busy taking care of other people. But this time I knew it was serious. I knew something needed to change. I rang Chris from work and I asked if he could organize for the doctor to be at the house on my return. And he was. I have no idea how I got home. Fell in the door. Chris and the doctor standing there. Doctor grounding me again. But this time, I just couldn't fight it. It was the beginning of the end of the career that I'd had for 22 years.